5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to All Voices. I have a special guest with me. She is a philanthropist. She is a community supporter. She is a leader in the community. And now she's a book writer. She is Dr. Michelle Foster. Doc, how you doing?
I'm great, Ray. How are you?
I'm doing fine, doing fine. Haven't seen you in a while. It's good seeing you. Good seeing you again. You know, last time we done something like this, we was at a radio station, and I remember you were saying, play this song and play that song and play this song, play that song. So I mean, I was like a human jukebox, but that was back then, and of course, this is now. So what is going on? What is going on with you? Because I know you're pretty busy. Talk to me.
Yes, it's been kind of hectic this year, 2023, as I finally finished up a project I've been working on for 6 years. I started writing a book in 2017, and I finally got it done. So that it's been keeping me really busy trying to get it all wrapped up, and that's just kind of what I've been focused on. So
Now, I must say, I've interviewed Lakeisha Barron Brown. I've interviewed Dr. Christy Dumas. I've interviewed my cousin, Miss Dee Dee Miser, out of Columbus, Ohio, and now you. You Deltas are doing the thing. I mean, you opening some books now.
that's how we are.
Yes, yes,
That's
yes, that's great.
Deltas are dynamic women who are about making change in our community,
Mhm.
and we handle our business.
Now, in the book, I read the book, and one of the things that you've done was you gave a brief history about Dr. Foster. Tell the viewers, tell the audience something about Dr. Michelle Foster.
Yes, I am. I think I'm proud of the fact that I'm an immigrant. My family, I am from Guyana, a country in South America, the only English-speaking country in South America, on the northern tip of the continent. And we immigrated to Brooklyn, New York when I was 17 years old. So I'm really, really proud of my heritage, and I'm proud of my beginnings. And yeah, in the book, I share um, my life story, the good times, the bad times, the rough times. But I am just thankful to God for the opportunity to be a naturalized American citizen, and to really be a part of this American dream. Um, I included in the book also my journey to where I am today, because I believe that it is my faith in God that has kept me, and that my relationship with God is what has really made me who I am today. I'm not perfect by any means, but God has used me, and I am forever grateful to have the experiences I've had. And I believe that to whom much is given, much is required. So I wrote this book, really, and the book is called Maximizing Impact: Success Strategies for Dynamic Nonprofits. I wrote it to really share my journey and to encourage others who may be interested in following a similar path where you discover a passion and really put it into action. So the book is meant to inspire others who may have been wanting to really take a walk of faith and follow their hearts to doing something that sets their soul on fire. And it's an example of someone, given, who I am, my background. If this immigrant woman, Black woman from a poor country in South America can make an impact, I want to encourage others that they can do the same. So that's why I wrote this book. And I am thankful that even though I started so many years ago, that it's finally finished. And I'm just eager to get it out and get it into the hands of people who, may find it useful and, inspiring and educational. So.
And that's your inspiration, okay? That's your inspiration?
Yeah, it's really, I moved to West Virginia with the thought that I was going to be an engineer, a chemical engineer. That's what brought me here when I was recruited by Union Carbide, now Dow. And through volunteering, I found my passion. And that is the journey I share in the book. And I am where I am today because I raised my hand and offered to volunteer in church. And I believe that by volunteering, we can discover things about us that we may not even realize. So that's a big part of the book, a big theme of the book. It's really, if you're curious, volunteer, and you never know. You may end up really discovering your passion and really moving your soul to do something that you may not have even realized it was in you. So,
Dr. Foster, the title, Maximizing Impact, Success Strategies for Dynamic Nonprofits. Tell me how important, describe the importance to you when we talk about nonprofits, because I realize that there are a lot of nonprofit groups here in West Virginia. How much do you feel that this book can really be a great tool for nonprofit groups here to succeed?
Yeah, it's a tool. It's a book that has practical advice on starting and operating a growing nonprofit. So it gives you pros and cons. It gives you it dispels myths. It gives you practical guidance on finding resources and sustainability, on so much, that getting the right people on the team. There's so much that that I share from my practical experience and from the knowledge I've gained over the years, that it would really help those who are interested in pursuing a nonprofit career, or starting up their own nonprofit. It's just really practical advice and some of the lessons I've learned along the way.
Dr. Foster, when we look at this book, can this book apply to big businesses, big corporations as well?
It's really meant for the nonprofit, community-based organization. That is really the main target audience. And in particular, my nonprofit experience was born out of a Baptist church. So I became a member of Ferguson Memorial Baptist Church in Dunbar, West Virginia, where Pastor Emmanuel Alfonso Helliger is still the leader there. And we decided as a church that we really wanted to go beyond our walls and make an impact in our community. So that's where it all started, by really, that is our definition of ministry: meeting needs. There were needs in our community. We didn't think it did not make sense for us to be just having, just holding church service, and there's so much need outside the walls. So we really got on the journey of meeting community needs. And this was the vision of Pastor Helliger. And when I got to Ferguson, as I mentioned, I thought I was just moving to Charleston to be an engineer. And my life changed when I really started volunteering. And then we started developing the programs through the nonprofit that was born out of the church. And that nonprofit is still around today. It's called KISRA, the Kanawha Institute for Social Research and Action. And that is where I learned, what it is to run a nonprofit. After being an engineer, I had no knowledge. I was able to learn what I needed to learn to raise funds, to hire people, to retain, and to plan and evaluate, and just really operate a thriving enterprise in our community that was a job creator, that was really making and still is making great impact in West Virginia.
Doc, your passion, as you say, is nonprofit. Let's look at the startup. I know there are a lot of nonprofit groups here in West Virginia. There are some that's struggling. And because the bottom line is, if you don't have enough capital, you cannot survive. And some folks, they jump from one nonprofit to another nonprofit. And is that good for the person that's jumping from nonprofit to nonprofit, or is it good for that group?
Well, everyone's situation is different. So maybe they discovered that a particular organization is really not what they had in mind, not what they wanted. So to me, everyone's got to do what's best for them. So it may mean really trying out, whether it's with a nonprofit or a for-profit, discovering what makes you tick is very important to anyone. So maybe the organization that they may have first thought it would be the best one for them, maybe in trying it out, they discover it's not. So to me, it's important to really know what's for you and what's not for you. So really making that change as they see fit. But it's working in the nonprofit sector, especially in the community-based nonprofit sector. It's hard. It's not easy at all, because we've got to remember that not all nonprofits are the same. Not all nonprofits are created equal. So you can have a grassroots nonprofit serving basic needs, like a food pantry. That's a nonprofit, a 501c3 nonprofit. But then there's also the Symphony. That's a nonprofit. The Clay Center. Those are all nonprofits. So it's important to realize that not all nonprofits are created equal, and your experience with one may not necessarily be the same with another. So just really figuring out where you connect is important for anyone, as with any other career.
Dr. Foster, one thing I've learned about Charleston, some say that here is very political in this town. And you mentioned 501c3. A lot of folks don't understand the functions of 501c3. Give a brief description of 501c3 and what can folks what are the limitations and what they're not supposed to do as a 501c3?
Yeah, a 501c3 is a designation that you receive from the IRS to operate as a nonprofit organization. And a nonprofit organization, the basic tenet is that you cannot, the board member, you have to have a board, and your board members cannot benefit from the organization. So you can't have a paid board. So it's a volunteer board. There are lots of other rules and regulations that come along with that. And a key one is that you can't spend a significant amount of your time lobbying. So you can't be political, you can't support candidates, you can educate on issues, right? There's a spectrum of things that you can do. But one of the key things you cannot do is support particular candidates. You've got to stay neutral. So there are lots of rules and annual filings and a number of things that you have to keep current and on top of when you're a nonprofit organization. Like a well-functioning board is critical to that. So but I think the number one thing is that you cannot get political. You got to stay away from the political, the fray, the political fray.
So how does a nonprofit get started as far as money wise? Do they not have to turn to, say, the legislature for funding, or how does that work?
There are numerous funding sources, private funding sources and public funding sources. And I include a number of different options in the book but yeah, you can operate without funding from the government. Foundations, local foundations, whether they be community, corporate, private foundations are a great source. As you grow to get larger pots of funding to operate your program, you may want to do federal funding as well as state funding. And there, in the book, I outline various sources of funding for nonprofits, but no, you do not have to get your funding from the legislature. There are lots of other options available to you.
I understand, there are some groups that are pro, they're pro whatever it is. Is there a penalty for a nonprofit group should they get political to say, you know what, we back this particular candidate come election time? Is there a penalty?
Yeah, you can lose your nonprofit status. You
Okay.
can lose your nonprofit status, yes.
Okay.
Your 501c3, there are organizations that are 501c4. They can lobby and do different things, but donations to those types of organizations are not tax deductible.
Okay.
So the benefit of a 501c3 is that the people who give to you can have a tax write-off. So that's why that's one of the best reasons to get a nonprofit status.
Okay. Now, again, I have your book here. Now, I'm looking at in the table of contents, two things. Chapter 5, get the right people on the team, and chapter 6, leadership essentials.
Okay, yeah, it's so important because you can't do this work alone. So it's important to surround yourself with great people who are from all different kinds of backgrounds, people who different walks of life, different perspectives, and it makes, together you then make a great team. So over the years, I've had some great people I've worked with at Kisra and at Ferguson Baptist. So getting the right people who are committed to the ministry, because at Kisra we really considered it ministry. And having the people who are committed to make that ministry work is just so, so important.
Grant proposals
Mhm.
is one one of the chapters in there. How important is it to write a grant proposal? Because it's almost like you're reading the job description for a job opening. You know, the wording and within that paragraph. How important is it to really have your I's dotted and T's crossed in a grant proposal?
It's very, very important. Very, very important, because that's the lifeblood of your organization. So really taking the time to frame a great grant proposal is very important for your sustainability. And in the book, I outlined some very, very specific things that funders look for in proposals, and how you can really design your program and your proposal so that it can get funding. So that's several chapters deal with funding in the book, because I realized that was a big thing when I ran Kisra, is really getting the money that we need to sustain the great work that we were doing. So several chapters in the book really address funding, grants, program design, program evaluation. Because the thing is, to know if you're making an impact, you've got to measure something, right? And to be able to measure your impact, you have to make sure that you set up the program in such a way to facilitate the measurement of impact. So I deal a lot with the program design, which some of it takes me back to my engineering days. So it's like I was doing process design and engineering, and now it's like social program design in the nonprofit world. So really taking the time to learn about the type of program you're interested in, designing it so that you can measure the impact, because donors want to make sure that they're putting their money where impact is being made. So really setting your program up in such a way that you can measure your impact is just so, so important. So that's how you're able to tell your story. And that's how you're able to get others to partner with you, which is another sustainability strategy, is really partnerships and collaborations. And then that's how you get, people who want to support you, and workers who want to work with you, and, partners who just want to work with you because they realize that you are getting things done and you're making impact. So that's what really attracts others to you. And that helps you to be successful.
You say, again, the title of your book is Maximizing Impact. Can a nonprofit organization sell themselves short? And are there any examples of a nonprofit sell themselves short to where they could have done this much or that much? They could have exceeded their expectations. Have you ever seen anything short of that?
Yeah, and I think a lot of times when you're doing the work in a nonprofit organization, it's hard to also tell your story, because like you're in the trenches getting the work done, and it's often hard to also have the resources and the time to tell your story. The thing is, if you're not telling your story, no one's going to hear about you. No one's going to realize, other than the people you're serving, others may not realize the good work you're doing and may not be able to support you. So I think one of the the challenges I had when I ran Kisra was not always having the time to tell our story. And realizing that it's so important to make that time, so that others can hear of your work and join you in making impact.
Dr. Michelle Foster is my guest. Dr. Foster, when you talk about tell the story, is that story a sales pitch? And can it be a situation where you talk too much to where you're boring the person who you're trying to get money from to support your nonprofit? Can that be an example of?
It's kind of a sales pitch, but it's really if you're telling the story, telling it from your heart and really sharing. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to go on and on and on, but just
Okay.
telling your story succinctly, and not really. And I think it's important. Not every time you tell your story, you have to ask for money, right? Sometimes because like you're not going to meet someone on the first date and ask them to marry you, right? So really taking the time to develop relationships, that's the way of getting someone really bought in to your work, right? But it's really just telling your story, having examples of people you've impacted, really appealing to their humanity, and really appealing to the things that that other person may be interested in is really how you make that connection so that you can develop that relationship that would lead to support down the road, whether, financial or otherwise. So, that is really so important to do.
Dr. Foster, let's okay. We'll take me for instance. I sometimes get gout. I'm going to start the West Virginia Gout Foundation. I have 4 other people with me. We're all gout patients, gout brothers. Okay. How would I be able to start? Just give me a quick vision on how I can start, get this off the ground and be a vessel to the community, because from a health perspective in West Virginia, West Virginia is one of the unhealthiest states in the nation. You talk about diabetes, high blood pressure, unhealthy eating. Some of that, causes gout. Give me a quick vision of what I will be able to, what I should do to really get this nonprofit off the ground, up and running, and that way I could be successful in the community.
Well, first of all, I would start off by figuring out how prevalent gout is in the area that you want to focus on. If you're in West Virginia as a whole, see how many people, try to get a feel for how many people are affected by gout. So maybe figuring out who tracks gout patients. Is there some kind of source of information that would allow you to find data on gout sufferers? So you want to quantify the problem, make sure you really have a significant problem. And then you want to really, set some targets as to, okay, what's the change you want to see among gout patients, all right? And as you do that, you're also thinking about your mission. What would be the mission of your nonprofit? You may also want to look around the country. Are there other nonprofits in other states that may be addressing the challenge that you want to address? And how did they do that? So it's really a lot. Starting out is really looking at data, looking at prevalence, trying to get a feel as to how critical, how chronic the issue that you're trying to address, how chronic it really is in the target area that you want to focus on. And then, once you get to the point of having data, looking at models that you may want to replicate from around the country, looking at coining a mission and a vision, and how you're gonna what values your organization would have. Then getting to the point of really applying for your 501c3, looking at sources of funding that may support your work, getting online, looking at sources of funding, going to the library, looking up sources of funding. As a part of that too, and as you go through your organizational formation process, you're going to need to pull together a board of directors, getting people from different professions, getting people who have some kind of basic knowledge about organizations and different, maybe if you're talking gout, you would need some medical background, but you would also need people with financial backgrounds, marketing backgrounds, maybe social service backgrounds, people, a variety of different backgrounds to really support you in your endeavor. So these are all things I outline in the book, some really practical, there's even a checklist of things that you would need to file and whatnot. But it's definitely doable, looking at data to measure how vast the problem may be, recruiting other people to be a part of your team, getting your government filings together, starting to look at sources of funding, like who funds that kind of work. Those are all steps that you can take, and these are all outlined in the book.
Dr. Foster, you mentioned Kisra, and I noticed how when we talk about nonprofit, how community driven you are. You're very passionate about that. When it comes to nonprofit, and we'll take Kisra for example. What was because every day cannot be sunny, as you well know. Every day can't be sunny. Give an example of an instance where it was a pitfall day for Kisra for you. Give me a pitfall day.
No, there were lots of troubling days, lots of sad days. I think one that comes to mind is that there was someone who at Kisra we ran one of our largest programs was a reentry program. Started off with as a responsible fatherhood program and expanded to reentry. And we had a young man who was a very great participant. He showed up every time. He took the training seriously, and we hired him because one of our social enterprises was a catering enterprise, and we hired him as a part of the catering team. And he came with us to conferences and really shared his story, shared his journey. He was so very, very inspirational. It turns out and he was doing very well as an employee on the catering and with the catering enterprise. It turns out I think it was his father who died, and he went home, came back, and he relapsed. He had a substance issue, and he relapsed. And we didn't know right off. But one day we went into work, and there was an early call from the credit card company asking about some charges. A couple of different calls, and then we realized that, okay, let's call him Tom. Let's call his name. Say his name was Tom. That's not his real name, but then someone started looking for Tom, and it was like, wait a minute, where's Tom? He's got this big catering job that day. He had the credit cards. He was going to go to the store and get all the supplies that they were going to cook, and and we couldn't find him. Turns out that in his relapse, he had taken the card and racked up all kinds of different charges, and he was MIA. So we were all saddened because it was like, okay, we wish we had the opportunity. And then he just disappeared, you know, he just kind of disappeared. And we were able to get the charges dropped on the from the cards and whatnot. But it was sad because we all felt that we wish we had known that he was struggling so that we can get him the help that he needed. Because, you know, he'd become a member of our team and it was doing so well and was such a great success story. But then, you know, the relapse really caused him to make these poor decisions. So that was a sad, and we kept thinking, oh, he'll come back, he'll show up, and he never did. So, but we felt it was important to, if we were to be in the business of helping people, giving them a job and giving them the opportunity to succeed is a part of that. So that was just a very sad time for us, and it really, you know, just shows us that, you know, and at any time, people can fall off the wagon, and you know, all the progress they've made would just kind of, you know, dissolve. So that was one sad time that I remember.
One thing I guess you would say is when it comes to being a nonprofit is trust. You got to have trust amongst your fellow members. You have to have that trust.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna keep you because I know you have a lot. You know, you have to get ready for your release and everything, and I know you're gonna have a little fireside chat with Mrs. Kitty Dooley. That's coming up as well. But before I let you go, I'm gonna give you. Let's see here. So I was gonna give you 3 minutes. But see, but when you was coming to the radio station and everything, you was getting on my nerves because you requested every song like every 2 minutes. Play this, play this, play this. So I may give you 30 seconds. No, I'm not. Give me 3 minutes. And again, if there's anything that we haven't discussed that you want to talk about with your book, feel free. And by all means, please tell folks how they can get the book, how much it costs, where they can get it, everything. I'm gonna give you 3 minutes.
Well,
You ready? You ready?
uh-huh.
Or do you need more time?
I'll take the time I need.
You ready?
Yeah.
And go.
Well, first of all, thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for this invitation to be on Our Voices. Maximizing Impact, Success Strategies for Dynamic Nonprofits is my baby. And it'll be released on February 23rd, 2023. And that's I picked that day because it's a significant date in the history of Guyana. That was the date that Guyana, the country of my birth, became a republic. So that's the date that it's going to be released on. And it will be available on my website, maximizingwithmichelle.com. But I think on that date, I prefer that you get it from Amazon. It'll be on amazon.com in paperback, hardback, and ebook format. And the ebook is $9.97, the paperback is $19.97, and the hardcover is $24.97. And so on February 23rd, Thursday, February 23rd, on that same day, I'll be the library, the Kanawha County Library, the main branch on Capitol Street in Charleston. They've invited me to an author event. So I will have books there for sale, hardcover books for sale, and I'll also have a book bundle. But the book bundle will include a hardcover book that, I'll sign it and everything, and a bookmark, a customized bookmark, and a soy candle. So that'll be the book bundle, and the book bundle is $29.97. So I hope you can come out and join me in this celebration on February 23rd at the Kanawha County Library at 5 p.m., 5 to 7 p.m. I'll have a fireside chat with Kitty Dooley, attorney Kitty Dooley. There'll be refreshments. We'll have photos and book signings. I have my family coming in, my parents and my auntie, Norma, who's mentioned in the book. They're coming in. My sister, one of my nephews, and my niece, they're all coming in from Brooklyn to celebrate. So I'm looking forward to that. So there's a link to register for the book release party at the library that hopefully I'll have Ray share that.
You cut out on me. There you go. Okay, come on back.
Also, I want to make sure that I thank my publisher, the lady who helped me to self-publish my book, Renee Eccles Hardy. She really guided me through the process and is still guiding me through the process of self-publishing. So I want to make sure I thank Renee. And I want to also shout out my sisters who are also authors, Lakeisha Barron Brown and Dr. Christy Dumas, who they made me realize that finishing my book was possible. So I want to make sure that I shout them out. Lakeisha Barron Brown, Dr. Christy Dumas, and also my link sister, Pam Valentine. These are all ladies that are friends of mine who have been authors within the last couple of years, and they really showed me that I can finish my book, and they helped to inspire me to the finish line. So I want to make sure I thank them and just thank, all my friends and my family members for their support. And I'm really excited about being an author, being a published author. So thanks for this opportunity, Ray. And I hope everyone will go out and get the book and support this effort. And really, a lot of the earnings that I make will go back to the work that I do in community. And I'm really excited to share this this toolkit. It's really a toolkit for nonprofits, and it includes my story, my personal journey. So thank you so much.
One question: are there any pictures in the book?
No, there are no pictures. There's some diagrams in the book.
I want pictures in the book. Okay. Dr.
Thank
Foster,
you so much.
Dr. Foster, thank you very much for coming on Our Voices. You take care and be safe, okay?
All righty.
Don't go anywhere. Hold on.